to graph the problem set for number 2. First thing you need to do is, in this column we have the date, so these are in weeks going from July 7th, 1954, 14th, 21st, all the way till March 2nd, 2025. So there are a lot of observations, over 3,600 of them. In column B, we have the federal funds rate, so it was 1%, 1.22%, 0.57%, and then in column C is a 3-month T-bill rate. Remember, the federal funds rate is what banks charge each other for overnight and short-term loans. The 3-month Treasury bill rate is a 3-month government bond that's issued to borrow for short-term. And then in column E is a recession indicator. It's binary. It's either 0 if we were not in a recession that week, or 1 if we were. So in all these weeks, we were not in a recession. But then we come down to first one here that we're going to see is on September 4th, 1957, we were in a recession. The week of that, that's a Wednesday, so the week of September 4th, we were in a recession, therefore it's 1. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24, about 27 weeks of recession. And therefore, that was, more than 2 years of recession. More half a year of recession. We're in weeks, not months. And so this will tell us something when we graph it out, and that's why I have it on here. We'll see what it does. First thing you need to do is to calculate the spread between the federal funds rate and the 3-month T-bill rate. So I'm going to say equals B2 minus C2, and then hit enter. And the difference is 0.34%. So this is 1%, this is 0.66%, so that's a 0.34% difference. I'm going to put my cursor on this lower right corner until it turns into a cross. It's not turning into one here, but I'll double click it, and it's going to calculate everything for me all the way down to the last cell. I have this so my pointer is turned on so you guys can see it, but when you're calculating yours, that the cursor should turn into a black cross. All right, now I have everything I need to do my graphing. And what I want to do is I want to graph the spread and the recession indicator. So I'm going to highlight these 2 columns, and I'm using a Mac. If you're using a PC, it's going to be a little different, but you'll be able to calculate everything. What I've done so far should be the same. Here's where something may differ. I'm going to click Insert. You may have your graph in a separate place. I want to do line graph. So this one here is the line graph. I do have a column. I have a hierarchy. You have XY scatter plot graphs. We want to use the line graph. So I'm going to click on this and choose the first one. And this gives me it graphs everything out automatically. Now, please do not leave your graph in an inset. It's too hard to work with. It's too hard to read. What you want to do is click on this white area above the plot area and click on Move Chart. And then you can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to keep it as Chart 1. And now it's in its own separate page. And it's better and easier to work with. First thing you're going to do is you're going to right-click on this orange part of this line. I want to right-click it, and I want to choose Format Data Series. And once this pops up, I want to choose, here's the plot series on, and I want to do secondary axis. And now notice that because before it was either 1 or 0, and this takes it all the way to this point here. We're going to change this in a second, but now it's moved it so it has its own axis, and it's not using this axis here between 0, really between -3 and 7. This is simply going from 0 to 1. We're going to change this right now. So first thing I want to do is I want to turn this into a column, and I'm going to right click on that line, and I'm going to choose chart type, and I want to do column, and I'm going to pick the very first one. And now you can see that we have filled columns instead of the lines with the open middle. This gradation we're going to change in a minute, but you can see that there's this gradation, and we see that. What I want to do is I want to right click on this area again. I'm going to go back to Format Data Series, and I'm going to change my gap width here to 0. What this is simply doing is for each one of these lines where it's between 0 and 1, it fills in a gap, and we're just going to change that to 0 so it fills in a little more. We're going to change the color, which is going to change this in a second. Matter of fact, I'm going to do the color now. So I'm going to click on this. You do not want to click on the border. The border is simply every single one of those lines. I could do that with this actually because the points are so narrow, but I don't want to do that. I want to go to the fill. So I'm going to go to fill, and I'm going to change the color from the orange to, I'm going to do a blue. and then I'm going to make it transparent. And actually what you could do, if you really wanted to, this is actually a good way to do it, is I want to go to blue here, and I'm going to say yes, and now it's even filled, even, the entire thing is filled. So if you wanted to use the border, you could, and that'll fill the lines in even better. And then I want to make this probably about 20% transparent. Let's go 25% transparent. Since I did this one too, I'm going to go 25% transparent here. And we can see it lightens it up a bit. I could even do it more if I want, but right now it's fine. I just want to explain what this is. Remember, this is just an indicator whether or not we were in a recession during this week. So I don't care to make this prominent. I care to be background, and what it's going to do is, in between these periods, the weeks in these periods, we are in a recession. And I just want to indicate it. During on the white area, we're not in recession in these periods. It's only in the blue areas where we're in a recession. And that's what we're trying to indicate. All right, next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this axis here now. And I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to do Format Axis. First thing I want to do, I don't want these bars to be stuck here. I want them to go all the way to the top. So I'm going to come over here to maximum, and I'm going to change that 1.2 to just 1. And now it goes all the way to the top. Next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the numbers. I'm going to still keep the axis itself, but we're not going to have a number there because it doesn't matter. It's 0 to 1, just showing us we were in a recession. It's irrelevant to have this. So I'm going to click on tick marks. Major type, I'm going to choose none. And then I'm going to click on labels, and I'm going to say none here. And now the axis is gone. Next thing I want to do is I want to come back to my chart, and I'm going to right click on the line itself, the actual spread. And I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to do Format Data Series. Now, there are a lot of data points. Like I said, there are about 3,600 of these, and therefore when you have this line so thick, they bunch into each other. So first thing I want to do is I want to change the width of the line to maybe 1.5, maybe 1.25. Now it is a little more open, and that's fine. It still is prominent and shows up. Next thing I want to do is I want to change the color of the line. I don't like this color, but you want to be careful. You don't want to pick something like yellow, which you can't see. That just doesn't look good. Red is way too bright. Some people do like this, and it can be effective. You could actually make it a little transparent if you wanted to bring it down a little bit. To me, that just looks faded. So I'm going to go ahead with black this time. I change colors for, depending on what I'm doing, but this one I want to use black. Next thing I want to do is I want to come up here to this pen nib, and I'm going to create a shadow. So I'm going to pull down the presets, and I'm going to end up pushing this one right here. I'm going to click on this, but look at the graph itself right now, and then I'm going to show you when I push it, when I click it, it kind of pulls the line off the chart. It gives it a shadow, gives it a three-dimensional feel, and so it looks a little better, and that's just using the shadow part of that graph. All right, next thing I want to do, I want to right-click on this line again, and again, the PC is going to be a little different with what I'm going to do here, but I'm going to right-click on this line, and I'm going to choose Select Data. And now what you're looking to do is you want to choose the horizontal category axis labels. On a PC, you're going to have a box. You're going to have two boxes on the bottom. The one on the right is going to be a box, and I think it'll have like edit. And that's what you want to do, is click that so you can change the category axis labels. Once you click that, this will look somewhat similar. So I'm going to click this here, this box to the right of the input box, and now it's going to allow me to put down the cells I want. You don't have to write anything. I just want to go ahead and click this first cell on A2, and then I scroll down. You could hold the button down and scroll all the way down, but that's 3,600 rows. So I'm going to just take this down, and I come to the last cell, which is 3693, and I'm going to hold the Shift key and then click on this, and now I've selected the entire column of data. I click OK and click OK again, and now you notice that the date's here instead of the numbers, which is what I want. Now I'm going to right click on this date axis, and I'm going to choose Format Axis. This is already in years. Sometimes it might be in months, and it'll be 14 months, which is somewhat of a weird number. So you want to change it to either 12 or something like it. For this one here, we want to do 2 years is fine. This is actually really good. But sometimes it might be bunched up and you get something like this. This is in months now. So this is every 2 months, and we don't want that. That's just too crowded. So I'm going to go back to years, and this gives us 2 years, which is fine. That's what we want. I'm going to come up here and click home and then click bold so that it's actually a bolded axis. All right, last thing I want to do is I want to take the number and I want to, label, and I want to change the position to low. This now removes it from the plot area itself, and it doesn't crowd out the lines that I'm seeing, and plus the lines don't block the date, so I can see exactly what I'm looking at. Now I'm going to right click on this again, and I'm going to choose Add Major Grid Lines. And why I want to do this is this can now tell me everywhere between these lines is a 2-year spread. So here's a 2-year spread, here's a 2-year spread, here's a 2-year spread. And so I know I'm looking at July 7th, 2006 and July 7th in 2008. It looks a little, I don't know, flattish in a way. So I'm going to click on this one line, and that's going to bring up a different dialog box. And what I want to do is, well, I didn't hit the line, I hit the color. I'm going to click on this line here, and I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to look at the dash type, and I'm going to do this dotted line. Now it's not as prominent, but it's still there. I can still look at it, but it doesn't show up as much. If I wanted to make it even a little less noticeable, I could make it transparent, say 30%. And so it's not something I want to have really prominent, but I want to be able to reference it. Okay, I want to right click on the legend here, and I want to format the legend. And for me, I like it at the top. Some people put it at the sides, but when you have a long graph like this, a wide graph, that would really bunch it up, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to put it at the top. I'm going to go back up here and bold that. And then I want to take care of my y-axis. So I'm going to notice it's 7.00, 6.00, 5.00. That takes up valuable graph space. So I'm going to right click on my axis. I'm going to say Format Axis. And I'm going to come down here to the number, and I'm going to get rid of the decimal places. I'm just going to take that to 0, click Tab, and now it just says 1. And I want that. I'm going to click Bold. Okay, now nobody really knows what this is. I know what the dates are. I don't need to put a label here that says dates, because I know that, 7/7/1980 is July 7th, 1980, and it's a date. But people won't know what this is here. So what I want to do is I want to come up to Chart Design, and I'm going to add a chart element, and I'm going to say Axis Titles, and I want to do Primary Vertical. And so here's my primary vertical axis title, and I'm going to click on this. And if you notice the font, it is kind of gray. It's not necessarily really black. It's not black like this. It's somewhat gray. So I'm going to select all to highlight everything, and I'm going to come back to home, and I'm going to change the font color to black. And then I'm going to add my title. I'm going to say percentage point difference. Now people know what it is. I'm going to highlight it again, click bold, and now everybody knows what it is. It's prominent. It's labeled, so people know this is a 2% difference, this is a 3 percentage point difference, and whatever else I need. Last thing I want to do for the bare minimum here is I want to click on chart title, do the same thing. I want to make sure it's black font. I want to bold it, and now I want to title my chart, and I'm going to say spread between the federal funds rate, well, I'm going to say the federal funds and 3-month T-bill rate. And then I like to add the dates just so you know what you're looking at. I'm going to say 1954 to 2005. And now I have my title. So now I have the title, I have the legend, I have my y-axis set up properly with the label, I have my x-axis with the dates, it's every 2 years. My recession bars now indicate when we were in recession, and this is the spread. And if you notice that it kind of spikes during a recession or right before, that's a good observation. But notice here, this is when the Fed changed some of its practices, and it becomes really, really attenuated. And there's a reason for that, and that's mostly the Fed is involved in bank reserves. But we'll take a look and see this in a little bit. We'll talk about it in class. All right, the last thing you want to do is kind of decorate the graph, right? Now I'm going to right click on the white area, somewhere in this white area. You see that the box, the outline of the graph is there. So I'm going to say Format Plot Area. And the first thing it says is border, an automatic. And I'm going to do a solid line. And I'm going to do, you could leave it like that. Solid line 1 is fine. At 0.75, I want to do 1. It's a little thicker. It's up to you. What that line does is it just contains the graph itself. If I say no line, then you can see when I click here, it's still showing a line because I plotted it. When you click here, there's nothing that's kind of containing it. So I'm going to right click on this again, and I'm going to say Format Plot Area, and I'm going to do solid line. And again, 0.75 does it. I like to go to 1, but it just contains that plot area a bit. So it looks a little cleaner. It doesn't bleed off into the edges. All right, again, I want to right click so I can format the plot area. And now I want to do the background. And one thing that people do is they click on the entire thing. They format the chart area. And now I'm going to do a solid fill. And that, that doesn't do me any good. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to format the chart area. I just want to format the plot area. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say Format Plot Area. Actually, I need to go back here. Format Chart Area. And I want to take No Fill. So it's back to where we were. All right, I want to click on Format Plot Area. Now you could do a solid fill. I'm not a big fan of this. I don't think it looks good. But if you were to make it transparent, it might work out a little better. This blue and blue doesn't work. But do stay away, again, stay away from things like this. This does not look good. It's, maybe if you bolded it a lot. I mean, if you discount a lot, it just doesn't look all that great. Some students like to do orange. Same type of thing. It's just a little kind of, I don't know, kind of blasé. Some people will do gray. I like to do things a little different. This gray is not bad, especially I have it transparent, 54%. If you come down and didn't do it at all, then it just kind of looks, the blue kind of bleeds into it. But you can do different things. You can play around with it. Another one is gradient fill. I've already been playing with this one, so it did the same thing. You won't have yours come up like this, but if you look at the horizon, you'll see it, it's kind of like an orange thing right at the horizon itself. And then as you start looking up to the sky, it gets a little bluer. At the very top of the sky, it's bluer than at the edge of the horizon. And this is just to kind of give an idea. I don't necessarily like this, but I'm just showing an idea of how you can change with colors. What I would want to do, if I want to go to, let's make this white. I'm going to change this to white, and I can move this up, and it becomes a little whiter here. I can change the colors at different points. I'm going to make this, let's make this somewhat of a greenish color. You can play with this, but I would, you got to really work with this a lot to make it look good. It's kind of hard to do it. The reason I bring this up and show you is, let's say I was plotting sales of my team for my company, and I have to make a presentation to my boss. I want to show that the sales are increasing, so I really want to emphasize the movement from the lower left to the upper right. And so one thing you can do is you can change the the variation on this. Now, this is really, really blatant, and I don't want to make it so blatant. What I can do is change this out to be a little less, but something where you move your eye to the right. Again, I don't like this at all. I'm not trying to say this is it, but just showing that you can move this around using this angle and make the upper right corner a little brighter. Your eye is drawn to the light, so it emphasizes that line. It's just you would really need to bleed these in a lot better so it's not as obvious of what you're doing. What I want to do is I want to do a picture texture fill. And so this one here is newsprint. There are different ones you can use. What I would do is stay away from something like this. It's denim, does not look great. You could, again, make it a little more transparent. It brings it down some. I'm just still not, especially with the blue recession bars. It's not my favorite one. I tend to use newsprint, which I think is pretty good, and I would just bring this to 50%. And so again, it looks okay. It's not just a white background, but it's not obvious of what you're doing. It's not really speckled. I don't want to do something like this here. Wood grain just looks really. This is bamboo. I know this is wood grain. It just doesn't look good. Pictures I don't think look good. Please don't put a picture in there. Use some other, texture or color, whatever you want to do, but play around with it. When you're done with this is really the extent you have to go with this, but try with, different things. If I want, I could, save this, and you can use it in a PowerPoint, whatever you're needing to do. So again, this is due on the 30th, and good luck with this.